to...
Okay, today I'm teaching you guys how to tape an ankle for barefoot sports, specifically with gymnastics, but this one also works for sports like cheerleading and jiu-jitsu. So typically for a basic ankle tape, we're only going to use one of these heel and lace pads. Some people say that you don't need them for barefoot sports because you're not getting blisters. However, with gymnastics, this extra padding can help when they land short. If I have an athlete that is continuously landing short, I will take this apart and add one more on top to give them a little bit of extra cushion and prevent that excessive dorsiflexion in short landings. I got it. Okay, and then we do our pre-wrap. So to make this a little comfortable, I do one around the heel and then I loop them as if I'm doing figure eights. And then we go up to the base of the gastroc. Some of my athletes prefer the tape to be on the skin, so I won't go up this high, but it's really based on your athlete's preference. And then for my anchor strips, I do A strips instead of a circle strip because I don't want it to crinkle in the back and cause irritation. So for that, you're doing a slight angle, go up and around. So you should have this overlaying pattern. I do 2 to 3. It's just based off the athlete's ankle size. I want to get kind of close to the malleoli to give them a little bit of comfort when the rest of the tape is on. And then I always do a strip here. Some people will go from the bottom of the arch and wrap this way. I find that doing the A strip this way makes it crinkle a little bit less, so they're getting a little bit of extra cushion in the arch. Now, if I have an athlete who has some arch issues, I'll show you how to do that at the very end, but you would want to start here and pull this way. I do it at the end just because if I do it now, it's going to cut off circulation. And then I do my stirrups. I always do 3, and then you want them layered so they're not directly on top of each other. And then instead of doing, some people do C strips here, I make sure my C strips cross over the front. So again, protecting from short landings. You don't need to really worry about protecting the heel from blisters. Whereas in a sport like football, you would need to protect the heel with extra tape. Here, my concern is giving them a little extra padding here. Now, I do my figure eights and my heel locks continuously, and I do reverse. So we're gonna start at the ankle, and then we'll go up and around. That's half a heel lock, half a figure eight, and then I close it right there. Now, you still see on this side, we have a little bit of gapping in there. So for that, I'm just going to take this and cover it. And then I want to close out my ankle tape. And typically I would have one more strip. And then of course we're always checking cap refill, which she has her fingernails painted, but you want to make sure that it's not too tight. Ask the patient how it feels, have them move around, make sure that it's what they want. Now if we're trying to add a little bit of extra here, let's say they have some arch issues, you want to take it from the outside and then we're going to pull up to give them a little extra support. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes athletes want a little more with a Leuco tape so it's a little stronger and holds better. I find with gymnastics that they're moving around a lot, so sometimes they'll come over midway and get an extra strip. Sometimes that Leuco tape is just too tight in the beginning. Another thing I like to do, if I have a chronic instability patient and maybe they do a lot on tumble track or trampoline, where it's got a little more give in there, and I want them to be a little more secure, I take Elasticon and I'll do one heel lock on each side with this. You can also do this with Leuco tape if you're in a sport like jiu-jitsu where you need it to just be really tight and hold. Here I want them to have a little more give because part of their sport is pointing their toes, and now watch point your toes. She's able to go into plantar flexion and still get that score that she'll need in the sport, but still have the extra protection. And then the last thing I'll show you, I would prefer to have 3-inch for this. However, we do what we can. If I didn't have 3-inch and I only had this 2-inch, I would just do the heel locks like this. However, just for the sake of showing you guys, let's pretend that these strips.
Mitch Hallbaker, welcome back. Great job, Mitch.
So you take this off. So let's say we didn't do that and we want another alternative with a little more support. This is a tape that I would do on like a vaulter who has that high impact, but they need to be able to control their landings. Maybe they're landing on a mat and practicing sticks. So we want them to have a little more give in the ankle, but still be secure. This would be a 3-inch tape. We're going up from, sorry, flex. We're going up from the bottom, and then I use my stomach to hold the tape in place. We split it there and give them like a little hug with the tape on both sides. And then we'll take this, same thing, a little hug, and then you're just using this tape to close it out. Make sure that they don't rip that off. Now point. She still has the secure support here. We're not moving this way at all, but she doesn't necessarily need the support in the plantar dorsiflexion. The end.